Do you ever feel like you're being watched, like something is just wrong in your own home? Imagine this. You're lying in bed, the room is dark, and you hear it a faint, almost imperceptible whisper. At first, you think it's your imagination, but then it grows louder, clearer. It's coming from under the bed, and it's calling your name. This is the story of the whispered bed, a tale that will make you question what's real, what's lost, and what lingers in the shadows of our world. Meet Claire, a 32-year-old nurse who just moved into her dream home, charming, century-old house in the quiet town of Blackwood. It was supposed to be a fresh start after a painful divorce, but from the very first night, something felt off. The house had a history, as most old houses do. The previous owner, an elderly woman, had passed away peacefully in her sleep, or so the realtor said. But Claire soon realised that peace was the last thing this house had to offer. It started with a sound, a soft, almost melodic whisper, like a child humming a lullaby. Claire dismissed it as the wind or the creaks of an old house. But then, one night, as she lay in bed, the whisper grew louder. It wasn't coming from the walls or the windows. It was coming from under the bed. Her heart raced as she froze, straining to listen. The voice was faint but clear. "Help me." Claire's rational mind told her it was stress, exhaustion, anything but what it seemed. But deep down she knew something or someone was there. Determined to uncover the truth, Claire began digging into the house's history. She visited the local library, scoured old newspapers, and even spoke to a few elderly neighbours. What she found sent chills down her spine. Decades ago, a young boy named Ethan had lived in the house. He was just 7 years old when he disappeared without a trace. The police searched for months, but no one ever found him. The case went cold, and the family moved away, leaving behind a house steeped in grief and unanswered questions. Claire couldn't shake the image of Ethan's face from the old newspaper photo. His wide, innocent eyes haunted her. She thought of her own nephew, the same age as Ethan, and felt a pang of sorrow. What if it were him? Lost, alone, and forgotten? The whispers under the bed grew more frequent, more desperate. "Please, help me." Claire knew she couldn't ignore it any longer. She had to face whoever was there. One night, armed with nothing but a flashlight and her courage, Claire knelt beside the bed. Her hands trembled as she lifted the dust ruffle and peered into the darkness. What she saw defied explanation. There, in the shadows, was a faint, glowing figura little boy, curled up and crying. His eyes met hers, filled with fear and longing. "I'm stuck," he whispered. Claire's fear turned to heartbreak. This wasn't a monster. This was a child, trapped between worlds, unable to move on. But here's where the story takes a turn you won't see coming. As Claire reached out to comfort Ethan, she noticed something strange. The room around her began to change. The walls faded, the furniture dissolved, and she found herself standing in a different house she recognized. It was her childhood home. And there, under the bed, was not Ethan, but herself. A younger version of Claire, crying and whispering for help. The truth hit her like a thunderclap. The whispers weren't Ethan's, they were hers. She had been the lost child all along, her memories buried deep in her subconscious, her trauma manifesting as a ghost in her new home. In that moment, Claire understood. The house wasn't haunted by Ethan, it was haunted by her. The pain of her parents' divorce, the loneliness of her childhood, the fear of being forgotten, it had all been trapped under the bed, waiting to be acknowledged. As she embraced her younger self, the whispers faded, the room grew still, and for the first time in years, Claire felt peace. So, the next time you hear a whisper in the dark, don't dismiss it. It might not be a ghost. It might be a part of you, calling out to be seen, to be heard, to be healed. Because sometimes the scariest things aren't under the bed. They're inside us. Sleep tight if you can.